Restoration feels like a deep inhale and exhale. Restoration gives me a sense of knowing. Restoration is a way of us getting back to the truth of who we are as a people, as humanity, and as a collective. My name is Lauren Everett, and I am B Lab U.S. and Canada's digital storyteller. In a world that often tests the strength of our collective spirit, there lies a beacon of hope, a movement founded on the principles of justice, equity, and the restoration of faith and humanity. In 2022, B Lab U.S. and Canada's racial equity team set forth on a mission to transform ideas into action. Founded on 4 pillars: storytelling, learning journeys, the redistribution of power, and impact improvements, our racial equity team has created resources, tools, programs, and initiatives that deepen our work within the B Corp community and beyond. Tech Afrique, Be More with the New, Thurgood Marshall College Fund, and Fairware are just a few case studies of the racial equity team's work in action. You'll hear how BIPOC liberation is shared through art and creative expression, how impact improvement starts with a clear and intentional plan to address racial equity, and how restoration can be achieved when we fully lean into the nuanced topics of race, gender, class, and sexuality. In an effort to get back to community, humanity, wellness, truth, and joy, we must shift our part of the system. As B Corps, it is our responsibility to learn how extractive systems such as colonialism and capitalism have traditionally functioned, and how we can use our collective voice and power through business to restore us back to humanity and well-being.
I get my inspiration from really looking at my cultural history and background. I think that there's so much as people of color that we have to do to be able to reclaim our ancestral memory and kind of keep that alive.
So Chelsea, who is Tech Afrique?
So Tech Afrique is an Afrofuturistic audio and visual platform where we focus on electronic music and immersive visual art. There's a disparity between the marginalized communities and the opportunities they're able to get within the electronic music sector. We have a music record label where we empower alternative sound artists to ultimately champion their music and celebrate them. And also our community and our festival aspect of it, where we're creating immersive experiences for people to ultimately provide healing opportunities for people of color and BIPOC communities. Storytelling has always been my way of being able to impact the world as an art activist. And I think it's super important in regards to the advancement of racial equity. We look at the way that oftentimes people of color and marginalized communities have historically been represented, but hasn't been reflective of the vast accomplishments or brilliance that our communities have to offer. So when we think about really changing that narrative, I think that storytelling is important. When we got exposed to the B Corp ecosystem, I was amongst a cohort of maybe 30 other women entrepreneurs who had businesses in different fields and industries, and we thought that it was a perfect synergy. We already want to make a change in the world and do business for good, and we were really grateful to come across the program and have the support to kind of get mentorship to be able to get certified. It was a pretty intensive program every week, just kind of breaking down the business and finding ways to kind of support the impact that we were doing. There's so many brands in the world that lack the responsibility to ultimately make the world a better place and create opportunities for people of color. I think being B Corp allows us to hold companies responsible. And Tech Afrique, as a company that is within the ecosystem, is trying to find ways to ultimately create new worlds, new visions for people to understand themselves. My ideal vision for the future is a world that's healed. And to also being able to empower people of color, kind of free them through the use of electronic music and Afrofuturistic visual arts.
I immigrated to the U.S. when I was 10 years old from India. When my mother was enrolling me in elementary school, she was asked to check off my race. White, African American, or other. So suddenly I became an other. For most of my life, I just kind of suppressed a lot of those experiences of otherness. And I hit this rock bottom I found myself on the ledge of my 18th floor window. Instead of falling forward, I fell backwards into my own apartment. In that moment, I started realizing that just as bias is learned, it can be unlearned. So, hello, I'm just here to invite you into this beautiful movement. So Be More with a New is an education technology benefit corporation that supports advanced diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging by breaking bias. We've trained over 80,000 professionals at over 300 companies.
It's so exciting to be on a call with so many different time zones.
Creating a learning container that is shame-free, psychologically safe, and that's filled with empathy and compassion to really enable behavior change. One of the biggest harms of bias and inequity in our society is that we don't know one another. So we were approached by the racial equity team at B Lab U.S. in Canada to begin to create a flagship partnership. We were able to show through various learning journeys an overall increase of 150% around awareness, comprehension, curiosity, and optimism towards issues of DEIB, anti-racism, and wellness and well-being. And after folks go through our programs, they feel closer. One of the core pillars of all of our programs is this idea of intersectionality, that every human being, they have a place in the movement because the movement needs all of us. So now it's about bringing that to awareness and building the new vision for our world together.
Justice Thurgood Marshall, the first African-American Supreme Court Justice, someone who got up every single day focused on eliminating barriers from individuals that have been left out.
Honestly, he's the reason why I went to law school, because I studied his legacy to use that same structure to open doors and to provide equal opportunity and access for all.
Here at the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, we get up every single day carrying out Justice Marshall's legacy for our students that attend historically Black colleges and universities. And one of the major barriers that our students face is having the ability to afford to go to college.
We want our students to not only be able to afford to get into and through college, but to have that broader skill set that's going to allow them to really build the career of their dreams. So a big part of the work that we do is exposure to real-life entrepreneurs who can talk to them about their experiences and the hard work it's going to take to be successful. We also provide in our curriculum design thinking, and we also give them business model canvas. You got to know how to pitch. Thurgood Marshall College Fund has a signature program that's called The Pitch. We bring together 200 students for a 5-day entrepreneurial training experience, and they get up there and they pitch for big dollars. Last year at The Pitch, we had a chance to bring B Lab in, and they really talked about what is a B Corp. They also then asked that we facilitate a workshop as part of a newly launched leadership program that they have. We did a workshop session. We talked about the importance of recruiting at HBCUs. We talked about the importance of finding orgs that really have that genuine connection with that sector and that community. And we've been invited to come back. We're going to expand the partnership and have them back this year again to continue to expose our students if they want to support and work for, or maybe even ultimately become a founder of a B Corp. As we look at the future of our country, we want to ensure that power, wealth, access is more equally distributed against all, and it's not just held by a small group.
And identifying those who want to make a difference. And that's what the Thurgood Marshall College Fund is all about.
We started from getting bad merch from great companies. It's a hidden industry that has so much impact, and it's so easy to get wrong. Fairware is a custom branded merchandise company specialized in ethical supply chains and sustainable products. So we really help brands tee up their supply chain with their values. Wow, this is from the Wayback Machine. The first year and a half was all out of Sarah's garage. Back back in the mid-2000s, people were starting to connect the dots with what they bought and where it came from. And we just kind of hit into that at the right time to be the OG brand with those values baked into them. This was one of our early roadmaps to understand what our climate impact was. So how do you start to codify addressing racial inequity or DEI or move beyond policy?
I believe my experience as a queer person has given me a small glimpse into the kind of discrimination that people of color and Indigenous people experience. In certain organizations, if you're not white or if you're not straight, company culture can be kind of a nightmare. And we were struggling somewhat to really find our strategy for us. The Impact Improvement Program was offered by B Lab, and it was an 8-week course that consisted of educational content on anti-racism. It gave us tools on how to move our own strategies forward. So one of the ways that we are working towards cultural competency is our communication framework policy, aimed at facilitating structured conversations for when there's work-related issues and for acknowledging a bias. It's meant to show people how to communicate and to work towards finding a solution. Whatever work I've been involved in has always been about driving change, inclusion, and building community. So at Fairware, moving beyond DEI statements means living policies and not just having them.